The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Woodland Hills. We are now in Tower 1 of the Warner Center. We have taken possession of our new home on the 18th floor. We are in our new studio. So for those of you who are just joining us today for the first time back, this backdrop is something that we're trying out. These are the handprints of thousands of children at a recent walk that we attended. We're taking a vote to see who likes the backdrop. So far, everyone has written in and said that they love the backdrop. I was afraid it might be too busy, but you're saying you love it. Now, talking about colorful, if you'll take a look here, we got these gorgeous flowers yesterday from Carrie and the folks at Autism Will Not Define My Son welcoming us to our new studio. We want to thank them. Aren't they gorgeous? And isn't it amazing how the colors sort of match the hands? This was a very nice surprise and a treat, and we want to say thank you to them, to Carrie and to her son, who is just a love. Want to remind all of you that we're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective. We've got a lot to cover, lots to do, and a lot of wonderful guests. I also want to remind you that a little bit later on today, I believe we're taping it. I don't think it's going to be live, but it might be. We're going to be doing the second installment of The Future is Bright. This is a new show that we have here on our Autism Live network that is done in conjunction with the Autism Society of America. For those of you who are keeping track on a scorecard, we have a new segment with Taka that's called Talking with Taka, and we have a new segment coming from Matt Asner from Autism Speaks, in addition to The Future is Bright, Autism Society of America, which is hosted by Stephanie Schaefer, a winner, not just a participant, but a winner of The Apprentice. Pretty impressive. So she's going to be here a little bit later on today, and they've got an exciting show planned for you. But I want to remind you that for the next 2 hours, you're going to be here with me and with some wonderful guests that I'm going to tell you about more in just a few minutes. But you can participate in this show. The whole show is meant to be interactive. We want to hear from you. We want to know your thoughts, your questions, your concerns. Kelby's going to show you some of the different ways that you can get in contact with us, while I remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, so many things to do, but please sign up for our free email list, because we do like to give you behind the scenes information. We like to give you a weekly postcard that lets you know who's going to be on the show, and a monthly newsletter that gives you some exciting information, and sometimes we include coupons for some cost-effective things in that. So please sign up for that. But when you're on the home page, you'll see that there is a computer screen that has a picture frame within it. If you click on the triangle on the computer screen, that's how you can be watching a live show, or you could watch the most recently recorded live show, or if you click on the playlist up in the upper left hand corner, you can look at the 100 most recent shows that we've done here. Now, if you want more than that, if you want to go back further than that, you can visit our YouTube page or visit us on Blip or on our Roku channel. But to the side of that computer screen, you will see that there's something called the Live feature. It's a series of white boxes. If you put your cursor in the one that says your question, start typing, hit enter, you and I will be able to have a conversation, and more importantly, you'll be able to have a conversation with our guests that we have on the show. So I hope that you will participate and utilize that. Now, I like to remind you at the start of the show that we have a lot of experts, a lot of wonderful guests that are, and boy, today I'm very excited because we're pulling out all the stops. But I love to remind you at the start of the show that I am not one of those experts. Wish I were, and I work every day to learn more about the things having to do with our community, the autism community, because I am an autism mom. And I'm a former teacher, and it's important to me because of that as well. But I'm a current mom, and I have a son who is on the autism spectrum. He, wait for it, will be 12 tomorrow. Yes, on the mañana, 12. So that's a very exciting thing for him and for all of us. We're very thrilled about that. But it reminds me that I have a lot of catching up to do, a lot to learn, so that I can be of the greatest service to him and to all of our friends that are on the autism spectrum. If you are a parent, if you are a practitioner, if you are a teacher, if you are a grandparent or a relative or a friend, or you are someone who you yourself are on the autism spectrum, we know that you have a longing for and a right to all the progress that you can possibly make. And we want to help you to get to that. We know that it's not one size fits all. I certainly know that. And that's why we have a wide array of topics that we cover on the show. We hope that we're at some point hitting what you want, but you know what I always say, I gave up being a mind reader to be an autism mom. So don't make me read your mind. Write in and tell us what it is that specifically that you want to hear about. Write in and ask your questions. And remember that I have a passion for this. I want you to get those answers, but I'm not the expert, okay? So having said that, we like to start every morning with something that we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out just what, in fact, are all of those experts talking about. What has this got to do with our daily life? How can this help us to get to the progress? And of course, Kelby, I made sure that I brought up everything except for my PowerPoint thing here. Give me 1 second here, you guys. I have no idea. Where is it? I have no idea even what it's titled. It doesn't matter. It's titled June 4th. There it is. I see it now. It all comes back to me, But in any case, Kelby's already shown you what the jargon of the day is. Our jargon term for today is fluency. Now, I don't know about you, but when I see that, I think, oh, are we talking about a foreign language? No, my friends. In this respect, we are not talking about a foreign language, but we're talking about something that is almost as important in order for our individuals who are on the spectrum to be able to do the things that they want to be able to do, just not in a foreign country. All right, so let's take a look at what our actual definition. Fluency is exhibiting retention, endurance, stability, and adduction. Oh, thank you. I don't really know, isn't adduction something you do with your legs to build your outer thigh muscles? I don't even know what that means. And what does this have to do with making progress? So let's take a look at our working definition here, fluency. That's not the right definition at all. We're totally off the rails today. It says playing with toys that are lifelike in a lifelike way, but that is not what fluency is. Fluency is being able to do something in the right speed in a naturalistic manner. When you think about it, let's put it through the reference of foreign. Yes, that's functional pretend play. But fluency with a language, let's say that you're learning Spanish because you want to be able to speak Spanish. Until you get to fluency, you're still having to go through the guidebook if you're actually visiting a country where they speak Spanish, right? But when you're fluent, maybe you don't know every Spanish word that there is, but you have the ability to communicate and do it with a speed and with enough authority on your own without having to stop and think about it, right? For me, I knew once upon a time I was semi-fluent in Spanish, and I knew when I had gotten there because I would dream in Spanish. And I was like, okay, now I know that, and I didn't keep up on it, so I'm no longer enough fluent in Spanish, right? I have just enough Spanish that I can get myself into trouble. But if you think about, it's not just languages that we want to be fluent in. If we're teaching somebody how to tie their shoes, and we've taught them however many steps, right? Maybe there's 18 steps to the way that we're teaching this individual how to tie their shoes. And we're going, okay, step 1, we're measuring the laces to see that they're the same. And then step 2 is that we're crossing them over. And step 3 is that we're feeding one underneath, right? And you got to think through the whole thing. But at some point, We get to fluency where you can do the whole thing and you're not really having, maybe you are still thinking of some of the steps of it, but you're not having to think through it step one, step two. It's just, oh, next is this. And you're doing it with enough speed that you can get the job done without any support or help, and it looks naturalistic, right? There's Kelby. Look at Kelby, how fast he is. Speed and accuracy. So, and I like to throw in there that it has a level of, it just looks like it's your activity, that you're able to do it, right? Anything that we learn, we go through a phase where we're having to think it through. But when it really becomes ours, we have a fluency with it. We're able to do it fast enough. We're able to do it with enough accuracy that we can say this is our skill. So what do you want to be fluent in? And what do you want your students to be fluent in? What do you want your child with autism to be fluent in? Let's just take the morning routine, shall we? Let's talk a little bit about what happens in the morning and the stages in which we go through to get a child to the adaptive level of fluency that they can do a morning routine. My goodness, you want to talk about having a lot of moving parts. You know, at what point can the child get themselves up, set their alarm clock, get themselves up, get themselves showered and take care of all of the, you know, things that they have to do for self-care so that they smell nice, right? Pick out their own clothes, get dressed, prepare a breakfast, eat it with a certain amount of speed, put their stuff together, and get out the door. That's a lot of different things. And at a certain point, we're going to work with our kids on being able to do one part of that, right? And get it to the part where they can do it without prompting. But eventually, we've got to work for fluency. And we have to plan for that very early on, knowing, okay, this is how we're going to get to fluency. Fluency is when they're doing it with speed and accuracy. You gotta love it. And it's not just adaptive skills, by the way, or language skills. We can do this with absolutely any skill. We want to get them to the point of fluency. A very important thing. All right, moving on. We always have a question of the day for you, and our question today kind of goes hand in hand with this. How are you preparing for the teen years? Very timely topic for me because this is the last day that my son will be 11. Tomorrow starts the very last year that I have a child who is not a teenager. Someone get me a glass of water, right? And a sedative. It makes me nervous. And this is a question that somebody asked me recently. Well, how are you preparing for the teen years? So this is something that we're going to talk about today. And we have some very special help to do with that. But our topic for today, are you ready? Because we always have a topic. Our topic for today, and mine isn't coming up, but it's all right, I remember it. We're talking about teens, the teen years, teens on the spectrum, and what we do for our teens and how we handle that. We've got amazing guests for you today. I'm so excited because today, for the first time in a long time, we have Dr. Adele Nadowski back with us, and she's going to talk with us specifically about working with teens and how you customize a program for an individual. And that's really what you have to do for all kids, but it becomes very important when we're talking about teens that we 100% look at them with no illusions about anybody else, right? Because they're so individual in their teenage years. They're individual all the time, but especially in those teenage years. So Dr. Nadowski is going to be talking with us about that very specifically. We've got a new study that's making its rounds. We were going to include it yesterday and we didn't have time for it. It's some pretty interesting stuff. That has been making its rounds on the internet. Very important new way that we're connecting the brain and the immune system. Very important, not just for autism, but for other neurological issues as well. And then in the second hour, I'm very excited. We've talked about doing this before, and we've talked about the program at Hope Tech before. This is an amazing school in Northern California that gets inclusion done in a way that is so inspirational. This is a perfect example of true inclusion, an amazing school that's about to start a new journey, a new foray into the high school years. Up till now, it's been only K through 8, but they are starting this fall their very first 9th grade class. I just got chills thinking of that. Very exciting. So not only are we going to have a parent who has had children go to Hope Tech, but we have a couple of their recent graduates who are going to be joining us via Skype, talking about the program at Hope Tech and what true inclusion looks like at a school and why it's so important. And we're not just going to be talking about how it's important for the kids on the autism spectrum, but what this does, what this creates when you have true inclusion, what it does for the kids who aren't on the autism spectrum. What is the benefit for them? I know you're going to be inspired by this because it just puts all the arguments on the rails. All done. Inclusion is the way. So that in our second hour, and then your questions and comments as we go along. So all of that and much more after these messages. Stick with us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. 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 Let's get wild.
Hey, welcome back to Autism Live. We heard you. Everybody wants
macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, but we're gonna make it allergy free. But here's what's the crazy part of this macaroni and cheese. It's actually healthy.
And it tastes good.
Yeah, it tastes really good.
That's the most important part.
So we're gonna start, we got our water boiling. There's so many variations on the pasta. We're using today a corn pasta. We can verify with the manufacturer that we have a GMO-free product. So let's go ahead and put that in there.
Ooh,
and if you don't mind, stir that up
Sure.
for me, my friend.
Now it's sticking a little bit to the bottom.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
We maybe add a little more high heat oil and spread that around again. One thing you gotta know about gluten-free pasta, if you overcook this, it becomes mush. Let's move this guy over to the other burner so you can see what I'm doing. And now we're gonna start with the old macaroni and cheese sauce. What's great is there's a lot of choices for, you know, different soups. And the way that I look at soups, and again, please follow the recipe on your screen right now. I don't like to measure very often. But what I like to use is a creamy butternut squash soup. So this soup is great because it adds a lot of flavor to the dish, but also gives people another serving of vegetables. With kids, we don't want to over season. Maybe with the adults, we can season some for the kids first, pull it out, serve them, and then add a little more, you know, garlic powder or onion powder or other types of things into your dish. So the next most important thing on this recipe is we're gonna add in a thickener and the faux cheese. Now some people like their sauce really thick, so you just add in more cornstarch or more arrowroot, so that's not a big deal. How's that doing? You think it's ready?
I think it's done.
Okay, so why don't we switch? I'll take that, you do that.
Okay.
And I'm going to strain this bad boy here. Here, let me turn that off.
Okay.
Or we're going to cause trouble again.
Trouble in Lisa's kitchen.
Yeah, no!
That's another show.
Don't, yeah, right? So I'm going to go ahead, get this all strained. It's a good consistency. So I'm going to check to make sure our pasta is cooked. So really, you just want to make sure, just like any pasta, it's a little bit squeezy, a little bit. Nice. Dude, good job.
Yay.
We're good.
Looks yummy.
So even though the cheese is not totally melted, it's okay, don't panic. What's important is that you're gonna love this recipe once you eat it. What I enjoy most about this recipe is that it smells good, but this stuff
perfect.
is amazing. So if you don't mind, I'm going to serve you some up, and you can maybe blow a little bit on it so you don't burn your mouth. Sorry, I'm once a mom, always a mom.
Just like we tell our kids.
I know, right?
Oh, and I can't wait. I'm excited.
So I'm gonna give a shot of this too, but
Oh my gosh, that is so good.
this is the ultimate comfort food. So
Oh, it's so
isn't
good.
it good?
And I'm not just saying that. It is really good. It literally tastes like something our kids would really like. And that sweetness is really, really, really good.
So the bonus for us is that when we're serving this to our kids, they're actually getting a full serving of vegetables in this. So instead of just eating a bunch of carbs and worthless calories, you're actually getting some good stuff in this. And we'll be back next time. I hope you join us again here on Autism Live. We're really loving the feedback, and if you have additional feedback, here's how you get it to us. You can send it to us via email at autismlive@gmail.com. on Facebook, facebook.com/autism-live. And also there's thousands of recipes waiting for you to discover them with pictures and different things on the TACA website. So you can hit TACA on the web, tacanow.org, and we'll be back. Hopefully we'll get to do this again.
I had so much
Maybe
fun.
we'll have a little wine, but you got to join us next time. We'll look forward to seeing you then.
Bye guys, we're gonna keep eating.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Hi, welcome to Camp Discovery, a free-to-play suite of fun, interactive learning games for kids 2 and up, designed by experts in autism. Camp Discovery will open your early learner to a world of new skills, shapes, numbers, colors, locations, emotions, and more. Let's get started.
Please choose a level.
Objects. First, Camp Discovery's Intelligent Preference Assessment determines your child's preferred reward for choosing correctly. Okay, got it. Let's play. Camp Discovery creates a motivating learning environment for your child by minimizing incorrect responses and maximizing successful ones.
Find the shoes.
Respond correctly and your child is rewarded with their favorite animations.
You did it.
Respond incorrectly and our unique prompting system guides your child to the correct answer by making it the largest choice.
That's not it. Try again. Way to go.
Continue to answer correctly and the size gradually reduces until the child makes the correct choice independently.
You win.
Success! Rewards motivate learning. Complete a round and your child is rewarded with a fun mini-game. Track your child's progress with easy-to-read graphs. Multiple settings options allow you to customize Camp Discovery to your child's unique needs. All this in one single app, the Camp Discovery app, available for free on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon Store.
Welcome back to Autism Live and to a segment that we call Real Progress with Dr. Adele. Dr. Adele Nadowski is here with us. We haven't had her for a couple of weeks, so we're thrilled that we've got her back. As you know, if you watch the show, Dr. Nadowski is one of the co-creators of Skills. She is brilliant. She is somebody who has helped me to be a better parent, and she treats individuals who are on the autism spectrum. So thrilled that you're back here with us. We've missed you.
Thank you. It's exciting to be back.
It is wonderful to be back, and I promised everybody today that we would be talking about teens. I don't know if you know this, but my child turns 12 tomorrow, and I feel like it's breathing down my neck that the teen years are coming. And
Yes.
we have over the years, we've had lots of parents who write in, and we talk about ABA and we talk about quality ABA all the time. And a lot of the videos that we have really focus on the early years.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to know, okay, but how does that translate to teens? What do we do for teens? And I think there's a misconception out there that people think that if you're doing ABA, that it's the very little kid thing, sitting at the table and pointing at pictures, and that it looks like that, and they think, my teen's never gonna do that.
Yeah.
So maybe if you could talk to us a little bit about, you treat teens.
Yes.
And
They're one of my favorite populations, actually.
yeah, I
I
mean,
love them.
so fun. And so talk a little bit about how you set up a program and how individualized and how you customize it and what kinds of things you work on and what people could be working on with teens.
Okay. Well, we're still using the principles of behavior analysis. There's nothing different there. We're still doing assessment to figure out what the needs are. And then from there, we move forward. But a lot of times I like to include the teen in that discussion. So whereas with younger children, you're doing an assessment and figuring out what the needs are. A lot of times I will talk to them. It's almost as though they're going and seeing a counselor or something like that about what's going on with them. So it's very interesting because you can have a teen who can't seem to turn in his homework or might even still be having issues like wetting the bed, you know, and I can actually discuss with him, well, here's what I think we need to do about that. I have a plan. Is this something that's going to work for you? And we kind of together can figure out something that's going to work where they feel like they are involved with developing that plan. It's very cool because you get buy-in on their part.
Yeah.
But a lot of what we're working on is getting them organized and able to do things more independently.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about the wide range of individuals who are on the autism spectrum, and it's no different in the teen years. In fact, I think the teen years, it's even, more, if you could be broader, the spectrum, because we've got some high functioning teens that are very capable, but that Swiss cheese thing that I'm always talking about, they're like Swiss cheese, there's a hole here and a hole here that we have to plug up. But what about people who maybe didn't get the opportunity to do ABA in the beginning?
Yep.
And they've, kind of toughed it out, and their teenagers aren't at that level. That maybe even we're looking at potty training issues and they feel like that whole boat has sailed. Can we talk a little bit about would a quality ABA program be effective for those individuals?
Yes, it would. Obviously, when they're older, if they didn't receive any treatment earlier on, there's a possibility that the progress will be a little bit slower, but that doesn't necessarily mean that just because they're older they can't make progress.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to assessment and figuring out where they are at, where are they functioning, and then developing a program that's specific to their needs. So if they still need to be toilet trained, that would be definitely something that could be worked on. If they don't have ways of communicating their basic needs and their wants, then that's going to be probably one of the very first things that would be worked on.
Yeah.
And sometimes they may not even be communicating using vocal speech, so in that case we might have to implement some sort of device for them to be able to communicate with. So again, yeah, like you said, it's a huge spectrum. It is the Swiss cheese. There's different holes for different kids with different needs. So we always start with assessment to figure out what those are.
Okay. And I want to take a short break and then come back and talk about some specifics, because you've had the opportunity to work with many teens. And just to give parents an idea of the kinds of things that you can work on and the kinds of progress that you can see and what that progress can mean to that teen. And of course, we won't talk about specific cases, but you can give us a feel for,
Okay.
Teenager B that had this happen, and because of that, we can speak in generalities about the kinds of things that can happen. Because I think when we go to events and we meet parents of teens, sometimes they are just so worn out, and they feel like
Parents or teens?
the parents.
Okay.
The parents, and they feel like. And a lot of what is said in the media, there's a lot of coverage about, your kids have gone off the cliff or they're about to go off the cliff. And I think a lot of parents of teens are missing the fact that they still, especially with insurance, have the ability to get the help that they need that could set their kids up in adulthood for true success.
Definitely.
So I want to give you guys some examples of that. So
Okay.
we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with more Real Progress with Dr. Adele after these messages. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Welcome back to Autism Live and to this segment, which we call Real Progress with Dr. Adele. Dr. Adele Nadowski is here with us. I've mentioned this before, that I have learned so much from Dr. Nadowski, and she's helped me to be a better parent. She's one of the co-creators of Skills, and she treats individuals who are on the autism spectrum. We're talking with her today specifically about the teen years. What that is like, and if quality ABA can be helpful in getting those teens to the progress that they so richly deserve.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about how it's so individual always. Anytime somebody has an ABA program, it should be individualized. But I really want to get to the fact that I think when a lot of parents think about ABA, they think about what we see the videos for now with the little kids. And I want to understand also, because I haven't seen a lot of coverage of what it actually looks like with the teens. So I'm hoping we can talk about some specifics about, let's say that you have a teenager who's on the higher end of the spectrum, and very capable. Maybe they're in full inclusion at school, but as you said, maybe they're not getting the homework in. They're not keeping their room clean.
They're not doing their hygiene tasks. That's a big one.
Oh, that's a big one.
They don't put on their deodorant or brush their hair or shower, put on acne. They have acne, it's really bad.
Yes.
Things like that.
Okay, so what can we do if we've, had you or somebody else come in and we say we want to work with this teenager, what can we get to?
Right. So, one of the first things obviously is to talk to the parents and find out what challenging behaviors they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, because a lot of these kids might have some very specific things that need to be addressed right away. Whether that be, we wouldn't necessarily call it a tantrum, at a teen year, but I mean, they could be doing lots of yelling or, throwing objects across the room or whatever, slamming doors, things like that.
Challenging behavior.
Tantrum.
Yeah, tantrum. Read tantrum.
It sounds
for
weird
that.
at a teenager level,
No,
but it is. It's still a tantrum.
Yeah. I've been known to have tantrums, and I'm more than a teenager. So.
Right. Or various behaviors like this. So we find out what those are that they might be concerned with. Sometimes it's repetitive speech. It just depends, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be one thing. Another is just to talk to them about, what is the day like for you guys from the moment that you wake up, or you're trying to even get your teenager to wake up.
Yeah.
That's one problem, is that they want to lay in bed and they got to get ready for school and their alarm's going off.
Yeah.
And they're not attending to it. So mom and dad have to get involved. So what do you have to do to get your teenager up and ready for school? And then we may talk a little bit about school if we have hours that we can help with that. But we do still want to know what's going on at school, so we can teach them about planning, so that they can basically plan for long-term and short-term projects and things like that. And learn how to evaluate their own progress and problem solve if there's obstacles that occur during their timeline. And also, after they get grades, how do you think you did, and what could you do better next time? What did you learn from that experience, and things like that?
Okay.
And so we set up self-management programs for them for school, how to organize your backpack. We set up self-management programs for their morning routine and their evening routine, and they may even need it for their afternoon routine. And we just ask, what are the things they need to do? If they have braces, they need to wear rubber bands on their braces. And these are things they neglect,
Yeah.
They may not be flossing.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And so a lot of times it's just putting together like a task list for them where they learn to self-manage and check off things, and parents do correspondence checks at first, and then we fade that out slowly to where, instead of checking off each thing, now they just check off they did their whole morning routine, they did their whole afternoon routine, things like that. Now, of course, you still need reinforcers. So when they're little, a lot of times the reinforcers are toys and edibles and things like that. So when you're getting older, what do they care about mostly? They don't even care a lot of times about toys.
Yeah.
It's more like money, so they can buy things.
I was just thinking,
So-
cold hard cash is the currency, which is what it is for adults too.
Yeah.
So if you think about it in a great way, that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're moving towards
So
that.
we use a lot of token economies with little kids where they earn little stickers or tokens that they exchange for things, right? So it's the same idea. A token economy just involves having something else as a conditioned reinforcer that we deliver. So in this case, it would be, if they have an allowance sheet and they get points for the different things that they're doing. And then at the end of the week, they get paid an allowance.
Okay.
So basically, you can tie these things into their allowance. You can tie into, like, if they get A's or B's on quizzes and tests. We'll teach them how to go online. A lot of times these days now, all the homework is listed online.
Yeah.
And they can go in, we teach them to go in every single day and check to see what their deadlines are and what they need to be working on, and making a plan. And teaching them how to put that into their phone or to put it into an actual written planner, depending on what's going to work best for them. This is where we get the feedback from the actual teen. So we say something like, do you have a planner? Does your school provide you a planner? No. Okay. Do you want a written planner, or do you think you'd rather put it on your phone? What do you think will work better for you?
Yeah.
Like, those are the kind of things we're talking to them about to get their opinion, so that they have the buy-in and they're helping to plan what's going on.
It's sort of mind-boggling to me, as I'm thinking about it, I can hear myself saying, to myself, talking to myself, oh yeah, I should be doing that for Jem. I should be making a checklist and having him check off. And I want to make sure that parents know that the great thing about having an ABA provider help you to do this is that they already know how to do this, and it's very efficient for them to be able to do it. But when you have somebody else set it up, I know this from having a young child doing ABA, it's so much more effective because there's no bad guy. Or if there is a bad, like, they get rapport with their ABA provider, and tell me if I'm off the rails with this, but when you set up a checklist and say to the individual, the teen, this is what we're going to do and you're going to get that, they go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
If I sit down and say that as a mom, why are we doing this? I don't want to do this, and we get because we have all the history with them.
Yeah.
If you have an ABA provider set that kind of thing up, and then you have to do the hard work to maintain it, right? But it's so much easier. It's not that hard.
Yeah,
to maintain.
it's actually really true, because they actually come to the meeting with their parent, and together we're all kind of discussing and figuring this out. And then after that, they really do it a lot more because they feel like they're accountable to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do fade out so that it's not like, oh, we got them doing all these great things, now look, we're done. It's a slow process to where they become more and more independent of being completely managing everything on their own.
So for instance, if you were just going to target getting the face clean so that we're having less issue with acne, you would make a checklist of what that needs to be, or I guess it would depend on the kid.
No,
and what
I mean,
they're
if they
doing.
can't even do the steps to make their face clean, like if they don't know how to wash their face, first we're going to teach them how to wash their face.
Okay.
So this is after they already know how to wash their face. They know how to
Okay.
brush their teeth. They know how to
Okay.
take a shower. So you teach into each individual skill first, okay? And then after you have all these skills, then you don't want to be that mother that says, did you brush your teeth? Did you put on your sunscreen? Did you floss?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure you have to
Yes.
do that to Jem every morning and every night almost.
Well, it's worse than that in our house. It's worse than that in our house because, and honestly, I'm at the point where I think, well, he should already do that. And honestly, you're making me step back and go, gosh, the problem is that I thought I showed him how to wash his face and brush his teeth, but he never does a good enough job. So I just yell from upstairs, make sure you do a good job. And then we're in such a rush that he doesn't, and then I didn't do anything about it. My husband is the one who stands over him and is like, do this and do that. So I'm upstairs yelling, don't micromanage him. So it's a mess, is what it is. It's a hot mess.
Okay.
So I need to take 3 steps back from what you're saying. I need to make sure that he knows exactly how to do it, then make a checklist and tell my husband, zip it. He's got the checklist, but I have to check that he did it on the checklist. Am I in the neighborhood?
Yeah. You're never going to know if he's taking a very good shower. I'm sorry, but that's just going to be one problem.
Well, you can smell if they're not.
That's
there is
true.
that.
I mean, you can't observe necessarily
No.
washing each body part.
No,
so that's
but
one thing you won't
we
get
do
around,
the smell
but-
check.
Yeah.
But
you can smell check for deodorant and
Yes.
check the teeth and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I mean, you won't have to be doing that forever.
Right.
You know, it's until you feel confident that they're doing a good job.
Yeah. And I think that part he has down well. He's very reinforced by a particular type of soap that we bought, that he's all about that. It's I think the care of washing face, because he used to be able to just wash face and didn't require much, but now it requires a little bit more as we're getting into the teen years.
Yeah, totally. And so we'll also teach them how to set alarms on their phones for certain things, like if maybe he's on an acne medication or something, or he has other meds he needs to take or something, those alarms can go off, and they don't turn it off until they've taken it. So if they can't take it that minute, they snooze it.
Okay.
Like little tricks like this that will keep them on task. If they always go to class and they have their homework and it's ready to go, but they always forget to turn it in and they just leave it in their folder, we can get in the IEP some sort of modification that allows them to set a little vibrating alarm or something on their phone, and then when that vibrates, that reminds them to turn it in.
Okay.
Various things like this will be done depending on if the child needs it or not, and if what is going to work best for them. But one area we're completely leaving out is social skills, and that's huge as well.
That is huge. Let's talk about that. Let's take a break, though, and then,
Okay.
then let's come back and talk about social skills. Excuse me. Stick with us.
What is autism?
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 I've been asking myself that for a very, very long time.
Let me think about that one.
Trying to just
Let me think. Oh man, that's a rough one. Yes.
Autism is a neurological disorder that affects many of our kids in different ways.
It's a learning disability that affects the cognitive functions of the brain.
A lot of people have the misconception that it's a disability, and it's really not.
I look at it as like a special gift.
When one person thinks differently from another.
It's an opportunity for everyone to learn to understand someone that's a little different than them.
Autism is the ability to educate.
They're given so much talent in different areas.
To me, autism means a chance to be with and be around people you really care about. Autism is beautiful.
It's a way of seeing the world differently.
It's always unique, totally intelligent, and sometimes mysterious.
Happiness that comes out of my son's hard work.
is a movement.
Unpredictable.
That's right.
Awesome. Love.
The field I want to work in.
Laughter, fun, joy. Autism is beautiful to me.
I want you to remember these 3 words. There is hope.
Welcome back to Autism Live and to this segment, which we call Real Progress with Dr. Adele. Dr. Adele Nadowski is here with us. She's talking about the teen years and how do we get real progress with our teens. They're a very important part of our spectrum. They should not be left to the side. There are a lot of parents out there who think that there aren't programs, there isn't help, there isn't support. And one of the biggest crimes, I think, is that there are parents of teenagers who think, well, ABA is for the little ones. And if we didn't do that, part of what we've tried to do with awareness is talk about, the earlier you start ABA, the better. But a sort of fallout from that is that people who have kids who are teenagers think, oh, well, then it's not right for us. So we've been talking about the fact that it's never too late.
Right.
The progress will be different and the programs will be different. But in some ways that's really good because you really get very, very customized programs for teens that are just exactly what's right for them. So before the break, we were talking about all the different kinds of things that you can do to help teenagers, but we hadn't gotten to the all-important social skills.
We were mostly talking about executive functioning skills. That was all like planning
and some of the adaptive stuff.
Routines and things like that,
But we
Being
do,
organized.
you're right, you brought up social skills. This is a huge component of the teen years. I think I had mentally blocked it because it's so overwhelming to me. But let's talk about, how do we help our teens on the autism spectrum with social skills?
Right. So again, you have to go by assessment and what their needs are.
Because it's all individual, right? We have to keep stressing that because we in the community always say when you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. So we have to live by that and look, where is this individual right now, today? Not where were they 2 years ago? Where do we want to be 3 weeks from now? Where are they right now? Then you can look at where do we want to get down the road.
Right.
So you're looking at that for social skills and seeing what do they have strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. And then once we know what those are, then we'll basically teach them social rules. So a lot of times, literally, if they just know the rule behind what it is they're supposed to be doing, they get a lot better at it.
Yeah.
I've talked to some older individuals who ended up with their diagnoses being removed, who are now in their 20s, and they say that they literally just live by the rules. So when they're interacting with people, they think the rule to themselves like, oh, I'm supposed to make sure I check in with my eyes, like these kind of things. And that's just what they have to do. Now, eventually, I think that can become more automatic.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And hopefully
become
more
fluent.
reinforcing.
Yeah.
Well, fluency was our word for the day. That was our jargon for the day. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, where it's just an automatic response that's not really thought about anymore, but initially it might be thought about.
Yeah.
So actually, a lot of times we might even set up things in fluency-based instruction type of formats where we get them learning to go really, really fast because unfortunately, when you're doing social skills, if you are processing and thinking everything through before you do it, you missed your opportunity a lot of times.
Okay, I've never really thought about this before. How do you work on social skills with fluency? Like, give me an example. How do you do that?
Well, we might give them, like, for instance, if they're going to be just identifying basic emotions or something like that, we get them doing a certain amount of identifications per minute.
Okay.
And then maybe if we're getting them to make an inference about a picture or something, we do a certain amount per minute.
Okay.
If we're getting them to talk about a cause and effect, like what might happen if she this, we want them to come up with a bunch of different possibilities.
We tell them you've only got a minute, and there's a buzzer that goes off. It's like a game show.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's kind of fun.
We can turn them into whatever they're into. So if they love basketball, you can draw out a little basketball court, like on a piece of paper, and every time they beat their timing, they get a basket. And then after a certain amount of baskets, they get to do something they want to do. So maybe they like to play a game board or a board game with you or something like that. And then, of course, while we're playing our board game, we're going to work on social skills in vivo with them, you know, where we do social cues and stuff like this. Yeah. So there's a lot of like teaching what the skill is, teaching the rules, role playing, and then capturing the opportunities to do it in vivo.
Okay, can you go back over those again a little slower?
So teaching rules.
Okay.
And then going over it and rehearsing through role play, getting them fluent.
Okay.
Then setting up opportunities that are like captured in vivo where they don't necessarily know that they're doing it after you've role played it. And then of course you want to get it out into with other peers and stuff like that. Now this is the harder part, is because sometimes if they're mainstreamed or whatever, their peers might not even necessarily know what's going on with them.
Right.
And they're not going to feel comfortable with someone like me coming and hanging out with them.
Right.
So
it's
this
harder
is another,
in the teen years. It is harder.
Yeah, so there's social skills groups that you can do where they can practice with other peers.
Here's my issue with social skills groups for teens, is that the vast majority of the ones that I have found, it's a group of teenagers who are on the spectrum. And they're going to teach them social skills with other teenagers who are on the spectrum. And that's what it is. And this makes me break out into hives. Because I understand starting there.
Yeah.
But how do we actually, shouldn't there be, it seems like to me, the perfect social skills program would be that it's a 4-week class. And the first 2 weeks, it's just kids who are on the autism spectrum. But the last 2 weeks, there's another half of the class added that's all people who are not on the spectrum. Wouldn't that, I guess I'm going to start a social skills group. Wouldn't that be the thing?
Or maybe I'll start that. That sounds amazing.
You know, but isn't that the thing? I mean, doesn't that need to be? Am I the only person that thinks that that's crazy? That that the vast majority of social skills programs, it's just individuals who are on the spectrum. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, because you're only ending at the role play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're never getting to the real thing. So I think that's a really good idea.
That would be like saying to people who are going to the Olympics, well, we're just going to practice in the backyard and then we're going to go to the Olympics.
By the way, another complaint I've heard about social skills is that some of them are just hangouts. So you get a bunch of these people together who are all on the spectrum and you eat pizza together, or you go bowling together, or you play games together or something like that. But they're not actually working to teach them specific skills.
Yeah.
And so you have to be aware of those kinds of social skills groups as well.
Yeah.
You want to make sure they're actually teaching specific skills.
Yeah, it's one of those areas where, and I know that there's some good social skills places, and we've tried to feature them here on the show. But it's another one of those areas that I say be buyer beware, because a lot of times it's somebody who just puts social skills on it because they want to get into your checkbook. And you gotta know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a key word when you see social skills. They're doing that on purpose for marketing.
Yeah, because it makes all of our ears go up. Oh, they have social skills, but you got to ask some questions.
Right.
Okay, so we want to make sure that they have an opportunity to work on it with peers, because otherwise, with peers that are neurotypical. Otherwise, we're not going to get to the point where they can, be someplace on their own and put these things into practice.
In some cases, we have some interventionists who actually look young.
Yes.
And they've asked the teen, would you be okay with me coming and hanging out with you and your friends on this event or whatever, and you can just introduce me as a family friend and leave it up to the teen, and the teen's like, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
you know.
And I think in some ways that's like a great thing for the teens, because I'm sure that everybody has noticed, it seems like when I meet the new therapists any place, they're predominantly female and they're predominantly under the age of 25 and they're all pretty. It's one of the things when I talk to therapists and I say, here's the reason why you have a problem with parents. I go, because you're all young and pretty. Let's put that first. And we kind of resent that. It's true. It's true. And when we were in the thick of intervention, there were days that I would get up and I have pillow head, the whole day. And we'd come to clinic and I would have pillow head and be there with my husband, and there's 10 young girls there, and I would go, I kind of hate you all. But I digress.
Cracked me up.
But in any case, for the teen years, this works to our advantage, because for the teen boys to be with their friends and be hanging out with a pretty young girl, this is okay business.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, for the girls who are on the spectrum, it's okay too, because it's girls. We are pack animals. So to have another girl with you who's pretty and attractive, there's just nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. And plus, they're there to make things like go well.
Yeah.
So they're going to be super fun, and they're going to almost like save the child from embarrassing themselves in moments and things like this. So
they're a good wingman.
But then you might have the problem that you can't even get an opportunity for these individuals to even hang out with people because they don't have any friends.
Yes.
That happens too. So one of the things we work on is helping them to develop friends or to get friends. And so in addition to the social skills themselves, like we'll work on pragmatic language, like learning how to have conversations appropriately and to read social cues and all of that, perspective taking, all of those things. But also social planning, like how do you make a friend? And then going through steps of like making a plan and figuring out what you're going to do.
Yeah.
And also getting them to do behaviors that normal everyday teens are doing. So for instance, social media.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but they have Instagram accounts and they go on and they like each other's things, and I think that's an important thing that they have to be doing.
Yeah.
They need to learn how to text people.
Yeah.
Everyone's texting. And to ask for phone numbers for people or to ask them to hang out or whatever, join sports.
Yeah.
And activities that they can meet people at. Those kind of things have been pretty successful with us in the past.
It's interesting, when they're little, we work on general knowledge things and making sure that our kids know general knowledge things to be able to speak, and we find the thing that's cool. So when they're 4, they know Thomas the Tank Engine, and that they can, have that discussion with the kid at the preschool. We still have to do that in the teens, and sometimes that involves things that we're not necessarily comfortable with because we have a little bit less control, things like Facebook and Instagram and things like that. But it is important. It is important. I've had parents who have said, well, I don't allow my son to play any video games. And, I adore you and think that is a wonderful, wonderful thing that you're able to hold the line on that, because there are times when I wish that I had that line. But it is my son's whole social game.
Yeah.
And it gives him huge social gain.
That's what kids do together a lot of times.
And they will call him up. They'll say, can I have your phone number so I can call you? Because I want to know what to do on level 12 or whatever. What do you do about that? And my son has social game because of that.
Yes.
It helps that his dad does voiceovers for video games as well. But, that is his social game.
Yeah.
And it is a big deal. It's a social lubricant for him. So you have to look at it for each individual kid to see what they're drawn to. I try to put limits on the video game stuff so that we're safe and that his whole brain isn't going to that. And wish me luck with that. Right? I'm not saying I'm doing it well, but I keep trying to find the line. But you have to have some way for your kids to connect.
You could almost
with
set a line like you can play it only this amount when you're by yourself, but if you have friends with you, then I'll let you play it.
Well, they play
more,
online
so that
now.
he's like,
They play online now.
But even maybe getting like a live person in the house or something like that.
Yeah, that's
you know
true.
What I mean?
Then you have to set up another computer station. It gets complicated. It gets really complicated. But my point is, it's important for all of us to find the line of where our kids have a way of connecting with friends, that they have mutual interests, because we only are friends with people that we have mutual interests with. So why would we expect for kids to be friends with our kid if our kid didn't have a mutual interest? So
Yeah.
we have to cultivate that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And cultivate something that's age appropriate, so that we're not stuck in the Thomas the Tank. It's hard. It's a hard thing.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that you can think of?
This is not really related to ABA and teens, but I just found this to be interesting, is that the school that they go to can really make a difference in their lives and the classroom and that they're in. So if you can find a school where there's kids that are more like open-minded and kind of more accepting, that's a really great place for them to be.
First, you have to find a school administratively that's more open-minded and accepting. And then you have to find the teachers that are more open-minded and accepting.
But I've seen this be very successful before.
Yes.
And I'm going to say it just so happens that it's more in like a religious type of a private school.
Yeah.
Because those kids that go to school there are taught from day one to basically love everybody, and they I've seen it, and it's like amazing. And
Isn't
I've been
it?
yeah. But you know, I don't know if that's for everyone, but I've seen that be very successful, where they truly have nobody picking on them, and they have a very well adapted life. And they may not have tons of friends coming over on the weekends and hanging out, but they might have one or two. And they do play on an actual sports team for that school, which they would never be able to do if they were at a different school.
Yeah.
And things like that.
We just yesterday covered a story on the show about a school that they were having their 5th grade field day. And the boys in the school got together, and it's a big award to win. There's all these different events, but one final race, and the person who wins that final race, it's the biggest deal of the year. And there were boys who are runners in that class, but the boys got together and went to the coach and said, hey, there's one kid in our class who's on the autism spectrum, and we'd like to do something really special for him. And they didn't tell him, and I cried yesterday, I'm gonna cry again, but they held back and let him win. And the girls all were in on it too, and lined up to be the cheerleaders, because I guess they have the boys run and the girls run separately. And so the girls were cheerleaders and cheering him on and saying, go. And I just thought, man, whatever they're doing at that school, we need to figure out what that is. And
What kind of school was it?
I think it's just a public school, but I think it's a
awesome.
Smaller public school.
Yeah.
But, somebody there, some parent, some group of parents, some teacher, put it in the minds of these kids that we are not, we're all different. We're not all the same, and that sometimes it's really important to be kind and patient and giving to other people, and that you get something more from it.
Yeah, I've been doing that with my kids since day one, and they're like totally cool with it. I saw my son walk up to someone that he knew was had a developmental disability, and just like talk to him and hang out with him. And then he also told me that there was an incident where he was getting picked on, and Connor actually shoved the person that picked on the other kid.
Did he get
and I
in
was
trouble?
Like, no, he didn't get caught.
Okay.
But I was like, whoa, why were you shoving that kid? He goes, because he was picking on this other kid who has a disability.
Thank goodness. But it's that kind of a thing, you being that kind of a parent and teaching your kids.
I didn't tell him to do that exactly, but
you instilled in him the ideals that we don't stand by while somebody is picking on somebody. And that's how we end bullying, right?
And the other thing is one time he got this really bad black eye from my daughter, who bumped into him with her head, and it was like this swollen, and he didn't want to go to school or anything, and I still made him, and I was like, we can put a patch or something over it, and he was like, no, and he went, and he said all day everyone was staring at him, and he just had a horrible day, and I was like, see, that's what it feels like when you stare at someone who's in a wheelchair or someone who is missing a leg or something.
Yeah.
Now you get that, right? And he's like, yeah. I said, don't stare. You don't want to do that.
It's so important. And I have to say this too, that I think in a lot of the years when we were doing early intervention, I wasn't focused on that because we were so busy taking care of Jem that I wasn't thinking about, and as we were teaching him perspective taking, I didn't put in that little thread. I eventually did about how you have to be considerate of other people too. Like I was always asking people to be considerate of him, but it's important as autism parents that we are walking our talk and teaching our kids. A lot of times they automatically are, but not always.
Yeah, we have to do that with some of the kids that we work with. They'll literally be like, Mom, why does that guy only have one leg? Like really loud in the store or something like that. Yeah.
When we knew we had to do it was we were at a specific grocery store. I can picture it to this day. And Jem was standing there, and the guy in front of us, it was like 2 days before Thanksgiving, he had the largest nose of anybody I'd ever seen in my entire life. It was epic, right? And Jem looked and he goes, Mom, look at that guy's nose. It's so, and I went, no. And I was like, hey, look at this turkey we're getting for Thanksgiving. And he was like, but you have got to check out that guy's nose. And I was making every kind of, talking louder and hugging him and going, let's play I Spy. And he was like, what is your deal? But we went out into the parking lot and talked about, how would you feel? Now he's gone to the other side, that he yells at me when I say things. But those of you who've watched the show, when Elaine Hall has been on the show before, and Elaine Hall is 7 feet tall in terms of spirit and energy, and I mean, she is just this big personality, huge giving person. She's the person who made Autism the musical. And I'm a fairly tall person. And I walked up to her at an event and said, oh my gosh, Elaine, I forget that, you are such a dainty little thing, because she seems, when she's on stage, you would think she's 7 foot tall. But she's significantly shorter than I am. And I said this to her, and my son took me aside and he was like, were you raised in a barn? Like, seriously, you don't say that to people. And he was like, you owe her an apology. That is not appropriate, Mom. You do not talk to people about their height in public. That is just not appropriate, right? So that's how he
really
is now.
Cute.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress greatly. It's been so much fun having you with us today, and are we having you back next week?
Yeah, it should be.
Schedule?
Yeah,
okay,
if I can't come, I'll let you know in advance. Okay.
So we'll look forward to hopefully having you back next week.
Okay.
It's time for us to take a break and go to the A word. And we have questions for you next week. We didn't get to them because I digressed, and I apologize. But we will get to them next week. We're going to go to the A word now. The wonderful documentary that is following a little boy, Jack Riley. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2, and we get to see what early intensive behavioral intervention looks like in that age range. So we're going to go back to those early years again. But I tell you, it's worthwhile to be able to look at it and see how a new program is implemented, and just know that for teens, it would look a lot different. When we come back, we've got more of our show, a full hour, and in the next hour, we're going to be talking to a parent and some students who have graduated from an inclusion program called Hope Tech in Northern California. We're going to talk about what true inclusion looks like and what it can do both for the individuals who are on the spectrum and for the kids in the classroom who are not on the spectrum. We're going to hear from some of them about what they gained from being in a classroom that had true inclusion. But first, here is the A word.
To other people who don't really get it, it's like, it's not a big deal. But it's like, yeah, we've been working on this for like 5 months. And he finally did it on his own. And I think that's the most exciting thing. Star. Can you say star?
Mouse.
Huh?
Dog. Pivot.
Jack Riley.
Talk Riley.
Come here.
Baba, talk Riley.
Yay! Hi. Good boy. Okay, sit down. Thanks. All right.
Baba, like a good.
What do you want to play when we're done? Do you want the tractor or you want a puzzle?
Puzzle.
You want the puzzle? Okay. Okay, ready? What is it? Say needs knees. Good boy. What is it? It's knees. Good job. Transitioning, he always has to say bye-bye, and it just makes him so sad. But I know they use it as a transition word for him, but I kind of want to vary it so that it's not bye-bye every time, like it's all done or we'll play with it later or something like that. And just kind of guiding him to whatever it is that we're doing. Or giving him words like, kind of have like 1 more minute playing with the blocks or playing with the tractor. Just so he knows that he can ask for more time if he wants to. I just kind of want to nip it in the bud if I can. Okay, Jack, 1 more minute. Say okay. Okay.
It just seems like there's a lot of emotional involvement, and it's kind of hard not to
It
be
is.
involved because
It
you know
is.
you're affecting
Yeah.
people's lives.
Yeah, every day. Yeah, it is. It is hard, but it's also like rewarding too. Come here.
Where will this?
No, come here.
Papa, look at this.
Yay! Hi, mister. Hi, mister. Give me jumping. Good job. What is it?
Jumping.
Jumping. You're so smart. Give me jumping. Nice job. What is it?
Jumping.
Jumping. 1 more sticker. Are you ready?
So when you're teaching a new label, you start off with just
The field of 1 so that it's isolated and he knows that, this is the only thing that we're looking for. So that when we throw them into the ones that he already knows or even with ones that he doesn't know, we can be able to see if he can discriminate that these pictures are jumping versus the other one. So that's when the true test is, does he know what the picture of jumping looks like? So then after this, I'm going to throw it in the field of unknown pictures to see if he can even discriminate. And after he knows that, then I'll throw it in with the actions that he's already mastered. Give me sleeping. Rock on, good job. What is it?
Sleepy.
Sweet, nice. All right, Jack, let's go outside, okay?
Outside.
All right,
Let's go.
Thanks, buddy. Oh, you're just always so cute.
In part 21, we learned that Jack Riley requests regularly now. Because of this, they are now introducing a new skill that will build from what he has already learned, waiting. First, it will only be for 2 seconds, and once he gets the idea, they will increase the time slowly.
You want an E or a Y?
Wait.
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 No. Wait.
Wait.
No. Wait.
Wait.
Hands
Wait.
down.
Wait.
Wait.
Hands down.
There you go.
Good boy. There's the Y.
Yay, there you go, buddy.
Wait.
E.
Wait.
E.
No. Wait. Hands down.
E.
You did it. Wait.
Wait.
Good waiting. Good eye contact too, Lovey.
That's really good, Cheryl. So good at that.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I've been promising you a news story since yesterday that's coming to us from neurosciencenews.com. Before you were involved with autism, did you ever think that you would be excited about anything that came out in neurosciencenews.com? And look where we are. But this new study is really groundbreaking, and it's all over the internet the last couple of days. Researchers find missing link between the brain and the immune system. Now, those of us who have children on the autism spectrum have been saying for a long time that we think that autism has something to do with the immune system. And there have been a lot of schools of thought that said, no, it's a neurological disorder and that has nothing to do with the immune system. I gotta be honest with you, I never understood why there was so much resistance to it, because apparently there had never been an actual lymphatic link found between the lymphatic system and the brain until now, and now they have found it. So I always wondered why everybody was so insistent that it could not have something to do, if it was neurological, that it could not have something to do with the immune system. But this new study has in fact identified new, apparently, they're calling it the first singular observation of the lymphatic system in the central nervous system. This is fascinating to me. And Kevin Lee, who is a PhD chairman of the UVA Department of Neuroscience, described his reaction to the discovery by the Kipnis lab with this quote: "The first time these guys showed me the basic result, I just said one sentence: they'll have to change the textbooks. There has never been a lymphatic system for the central nervous system, and it was very clear from that first singular observation, and they've done many studies since then to bolster the finding that it will fundamentally change the way people look at the central nervous system's relationship with the immune system." And this article, again, is available on neurosciencenews.com. They report that even the people who were doing the study were skeptical initially. They were quoted as saying, "I really did not believe that there are structures in the body that we are not aware of. I thought the body was mapped," this individual said. "I thought that these discoveries ended somewhere around the middle of the last century, but apparently they have not." Apparently there is a place in the brain that is very well hidden. They did a specific method to look inside the meninges, which are the membranes covering the brain, on a single slide so that they could be examined as a whole. It was fairly easy, actually, he said. There was one trick. We fixed the meninges within the skull cap so that the tissue is secured in its physiological condition, and then we dissected it. If we had done it any other way around, it wouldn't have worked. They noticed vessel-like patterns in the distribution of the immune cells on the slides, and then they tested the lymphatic vessels, and there they were. They tested them for lymphatic vessels, and that's what they found. It's the equivalent of finding a new solar system or a second sun. It's really a huge, huge discovery. It shows that the brain is affected by immune issues, which we know will change the way we look at autism. It will change the way doctors will look at autism. I don't know how much it will change the way parents look at autism, because we've been seeing this for a long time. But here's the other amazing thing about this, is that not only is it going to change the way we look at autism, it will change the way we look at Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and so many other, it will change the way we look at schizophrenia. This is groundbreaking. Again, you can read the whole article in, forgive me, I lost it, neurosciencenews.com. I want to let you know that this study was originally published online in Nature, and it will soon be available in their print edition. This study that discovered this was funded by the National Institutes of Health grants, and it's a very exciting thing. So we say congratulations to the Kipnis lab. We say congratulations to the NIH for the grants that led to this, and very exciting for all of us as we move forward. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by some individuals from Hope Tech, a really exciting school that does inclusion and does it right. Stick with us. There's been another new study about optimal outcomes, and I wanted to know, what are your thoughts on recovery? Do you think it's possible? Do you believe in recovery from autism?
On recovery, you learn how to adapt. I mean, I've had a lot of experimental brain scans done, and they have found things that are definitely abnormal. I have an enlarged left ventricle that's definitely abnormal. That's not going to go away. That scan was done less than 5 years ago. But you work with someone and they adapt. You're not going to make me an algebra specialist. That's just not going to happen. But things like getting better at public speaking, that is something that I gradually learned. What I'm seeing today, especially with some of the kids on the mild end of the spectrum, I'm seeing teenagers that are much milder than me that haven't learned things like how to go up to the counter at McDonald's and order food all by themselves, how to go on the bus, how to shop, how to go in the store and shop, how to do a checkbook, basic things like that. Because what drives me crazy is when I go back to the cattle world and I see a guy in the maintenance shop that's running the whole maintenance shop at a big plant, and he's as Asperger's as he can be, and he's running a whole maintenance shop. And then I see Junior that's addicted to video games, and you can't get his duff off his chair, and get him doing things. Now, when I was in high school, I did a lot of thinking about this. I got kicked out of a large girls' school for throwing a book, and I went to a special boarding school up on a farm, and I was allowed to work with the farm animals. And they let me goof off and not study. But I got to thinking, there's one thing they did not let me do. I goofed off and I didn't study, but I had to physically go to class. When I didn't want to go to the Friday night movie, they made me the projectionist. One thing they were not going to let me do is sit in my room, become a recluse in my room. They were not going to allow that.
I want to know why you threw the book. Why did you throw it?
Oh, I threw a book at a girl because she called me a retard.
Oh, good reason.
Oh, no,
to throw
she
it at.
teased me. And I had some problems getting in fights when kids teased me. But it was always brought about by someone picking on me. And the principal had me kicked out of school, out of a large girls' school for doing that.
And what'd your mom say?
Well, she was not very happy about the whole thing because when the principal called, I answered the phone and he said I was incorrigible and I was kicked out of school. Mother was really angry that he just said that right directly to me, which was definitely not very appropriate.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman with Taka. My
Hi.
guest here.
I am Jennifer Lucero with Taka.
Taka Mom's here in the house. Jeff saw on a TV commercial, they were making calzones, and he looked at me and goes, Mom, please make me that. Wait a minute, yeah, calzone, you can't have calzone. He goes, well, you make me pizza. Why don't we call it a puzzone? So we're gonna do this ode to Jeff, puzzone. So I'm gonna have Jen come on in.
All right.
You're on charge.
Ready.
We're gonna add a little grapeseed oil, garlic, cut up chicken, finely cut up onion, and we're gonna throw a little bit of basil. So we're gonna just take about 5 minutes or so, saute up the chicken and all of the onions together. While Jen is slaving away at the stove, I'm gonna make the pizza crust. A lot of gluten-free choices that you have out there for pizza crust. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the dry. Again, I'm using eggs. There are a lot of egg replacers on the Taka website. We have about a dozen different ways to replace eggs. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my shortening. Calls for a little extra salt, which I'm going to put in here. And also add a little pepper. And we also have herbs de Provence that gives the crust a nice Italian flavor. Can't forget the apple cider vinegar, organic stuff ready to go. Yes, I have all my ingredients. We're ready to rock with this mixer. And don't be afraid of dough. Dough doesn't bite. So here's what we'll be working with to make the puzzone. I'm ready to go. Let's get this party started. So what we're going to do next is roll out the dough. I like to be rolling in the dough, but we're going to roll out the dough instead. So let's go ahead and get started here with that. So again, you see me using the parchment paper all the time. Love this stuff. It's basically unbleached, ready to go. It's just going to make life a lot easier on your rolling pin. You don't need to coat it or anything, which is a lot easier. But I swear I should buy that by the gross ton. So the puzzones, this basically makes 2 big puzzones. I'm going to take half of the dough and roll it out. Half of the other dough will be for the other puzzone that we're going to make in just a little bit. So you want to do, you're not making a pie crust, you're kind of making a long oval shape. So we're going to try to make a shape where I'm going to basically roll this over with all the yummy fillings. And so any combination or variation thereof. This sauce, just real simple, is organic crushed tomatoes. I've added a little bit of salt and pepper and herbs de Provence in that as well, which I love. I like extra fresh basil. That's always yummy to have on your puzzone. And thank you, this turned out fantastic. So we're just basically building it the way that we want to eat it. Of course, my favorite rice-free, organic, dairy-free, soy-free cheese. It's going to pop out the sides.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of popping out the sides. So that's the beauty of the parchment paper. Once you're done, you just flip it over and peel it back. So So I'm just taking a fork now and going around the edges. It looks so pretty.
It looks really nice.
So for 400 degrees, we're going to go for about 25 minutes. You want it golden brown. And because we cooked everything pretty much already, you're not worried about not having everything fully cooked. So look how cute those look.
Looks great.
Like those 4 happy people right there. This weighs a ton. So let's go to the magic oven. Pull out our finished product. And voila!
Good.
Oh my gosh,
looks
this
beautiful.
is so yummy. There's nothing better than a little Jeff Ackerman pizzone. And this is going to be nuclear hot, but we'll go ahead and cut it open so you can. Oh my gosh, this is going to taste so good
That
later
looks
on for
great.
your kids.
Yum.
Feedback, keep it coming. Thank you for helping, Jen.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us. Come back to Autism Live. We'll keep doing allergy-friendly cooking classes. If you have any suggestions or things that you would like to see us make, bring it on. You can reach us at autismlive@gmail.com or Facebook.
Love the Facebook.
I know, too much for me. Facebook, so facebook.com/autismlive, or thousands of taco recipes ready to go. Basically go to Takanow, TACANOW.org, and we'll see you next time.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm so excited because right now we're going to journey via Skype to Hope Tech, a really incredible school in Palo Alto, California. We're going to be talking first with Gail Ewell, who is the executive director there. And Gail, thank you for being here today and welcome to Autism Live.
Thank you for having us. We're very excited to be with you.
And you've got a couple of students there that we're going to be talking to in just a couple of minutes. But Gail, we've talked about Hope Tech before on the program, because whenever we talk about inclusion, we talk about inclusion a lot. I find myself referencing you guys. We first learned about you through a blog that was done by Mark Sirkin for Autism Speaks. And I know as a parent, I was so excited to hear about what was happening at Hope Tech. So for those who haven't read that blog before, maybe you could give us a little bit of background on Hope Tech and what the inclusion looks like at Hope Tech.
Yeah, sure. Well, inclusion really is just belonging and participating in a diverse community. And we view differences in ability as a form of diversity. And in the classroom, inclusion is really valuing all the children and all their abilities. And here about 14 years ago, we started with a group of 5 children. And it was a challenge initially convincing other families to come and that it would be an inclusive school. Right now, we're over 140 students, and we have our ratios about 60 to 40 typical to special needs. We also are a fully accredited school. And some common misconceptions about inclusion are that the curriculum might be slowed down or watered down, but that's not the case. And we have our alumni here to share their experiences as well. So we started this school about 14 years ago, and we've been going strong ever since.
I get so excited when I hear about your program because I wish that we could clone it and make it be everywhere and take the spirit of what you're doing and make it be everywhere. I keep thinking it's going to automatically happen. And I know that there are more and more schools around the country that are paying attention. But so important what you guys are doing. In just a couple of minutes, we're going to be talking with the students about why it's a benefit for them. And I especially want to talk about what the benefits are for the individuals who are neurotypical, because I think, as you were saying, a lot of people poo-poo the idea that parents will want to send students to this kind of a program. But you've had great success over the last more than decade, haven't you, Gail?
Yes, we have really great success. Our students are going on to universities, graduating high school with honors and awards and scholarships, and they are becoming great leaders in their community for inclusion. They're starting inclusion clubs on their campuses. They're also doing tutoring, and I know they'll share, I won't take away from what they'll share, they will share their experiences. But yes, I think we have had great success.
In fact, your success has been so great. You've up until now you've been K through 8. Is that correct?
Yes.
And tell the folks at home what you're going to be doing next year because you've been so successful.
Well, we're really excited about a high school program that will be starting in the fall. It's called Learning Curve, and it's a pilot program designed for high school students who want to think differently. We're really going to focus on 21st century skills, and it'll probably be more cross-curricular project-based for our diverse learners. But it's really developing a culture of inclusion, and we're excited to start out a new high school.
It's very exciting, and I'm sure for the people in your area, it's something that they're all jumping up and down about. So exciting. Now, Gail, tell us, how can we find out more information about Hope Tech, and if parents are interested in sending their students to your school, where would they go to find more information?
They could go to our website at www.hopetechschool.org, and there's a lot of information there. And so I think that has most of the information they would need if they would want to investigate the school.
And for teachers in other schools around the country, if they're looking at this and going, wow, I'd love to know specifics about how they overcame this issue or that problem, do you guys have a place online, or are you guys working on a book that people can take a look and learn from what you've been able to do there?
Well, we do have a blog and Facebook page and for teachers to go to, so that's something else they can do and access as well.
Okay, well, I hope there's a book eventually in the works, because you guys should write a book about inclusion.
Yeah, maybe we'll get the students to help us.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it? All right, I want to take a short break, but when we come back, I want to talk to these lovely students that you have there with you. I want to hear what the experience has been like for them. And I want our viewers to hear firsthand what the benefits are of being included in this kind of a program. So stick with us. We're going to be right back with more Hope Tech after these messages.
The Institute for Behavioral Training provides courses in applied behavior analysis for the treatment of autism. Access IBT e-learning videos on the move and learn at your own pace.
I'm going to talk a little bit about intensity.
IBT e-learning makes any location your classroom on the go.
So our objectives for today are to really learn what is autism and how is it diagnosed.
Get professional guidance with IBT face-to-face training. IBT face-to-face training courses prepare you to effectively implement ABA-based interventions. Choose between small group and one-to-one instruction. Earn BCBA supervision hours via one-to-one video conferencing.
So I had a chance to review your BIP today. You know what? It looked really good. You did a good job with it.
IBT continuing education courses. Earn credit through webinars, conferences, article reviews, and e-learning videos. You can learn more at ibehavioraltraining.com. IBT, 360 degrees of ABA training.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We're very excited because we have with us right now via Skype some individuals from Hope Tech. We've got 3 students that are there with Gail Ewell. Gail is the executive director of Hope Tech. And Gail, we've made these students wait patiently to talk with us, but maybe you could introduce us to these 3 wonderful young people.
Sure, I'm with my distinguished alumni. And this is David Traver. He's recently graduated from high school, and he received the Principal High Honor Roll Award, the John F. Kennedy Award for Leadership, and he scored in the top 3% of his SATs, and he'll be attending Santa Clara University in the fall.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Carolyn Sue, and she recently graduated valedictorian from her high school. And she played varsity soccer since a freshman. She's in student government, and she's promoting inclusive events on her campus. She's really become a leader. She received a High School Heroes Award as well for leadership and academic achievement, and she'll be attending University of San Francisco in the fall.
Wonderful.
This is Phoenix, and she is one of our great alumni and diverse learners, and she's in high school. What year are you going to be? I'm a junior in high school.
Wonderful. And we're so thrilled that the 3 of you could join us today to talk with us a little bit about inclusion, because you were a part of this program. So is it David? Is that what
Yes,
Okay,
that's correct.
David, can you talk to us a little bit about how many years you went to Hope Tech and how you experienced it?
Absolutely. So I went to Hope Technology School, started in kindergarten actually, and went all the way through 8th grade. So that's a total of 9 years. And honestly, there's so much to say. I really don't think I can say it within this very short time we have. But I think the biggest thing I could take out of it, I would explain this to someone who's never been to Hope Tech, is that it really offers a new viewpoint that a typical school, like the high school I went to, doesn't really offer. And that's really that everyone really is the same and that everyone can help each other and be on the same team.
And do you feel like, and this is open to all three of you, do you feel like this has helped you to prepare for the real world?
I can answer that. I do think it has, especially in high school. I think there's a misunderstanding that preparation is only through academics, but I think most of my success has been through the character built at home. And I think academically, the character that I learned of hard work, of learning to accept differences has really helped me to excel.
Well, I love hearing that. And how many years did you go to Hope Tech?
I've gone to Hope Tech from kindergarten through 8th grade.
Wow, amazing. And so then, is it Phoenix? Is that what I heard correct?
Yes.
Phoenix, so did you go through K through 8 as well at Hope Tech?
Yes, I did.
And you're just now in high school. And so is high school, the high school that you're going to, is it vastly different than Hope Tech?
In some ways, yes. In other ways, not that much. I mean, it's very, like, they try for inclusion, but, you know, always not as good as Hope Tech.
Okay, and I'm imagining that you really enjoyed being at Hope Tech as well, because otherwise you wouldn't be there today to talk about this. But okay, so I'd love to, if you guys, if there's anybody who wants to tell a story that gives an example of what it was like to be in the inclusion program at Hope Tech. Is there one particular incident that you can point to help highlight for people the difference between, as Phoenix was saying, you know, really good inclusion and when people are trying for inclusion? Anybody got a story that they can think of that really, you know, brings it home?
Well, since I've attended Hope School from kindergarten through 8th grade, one of my friends, he had autism, but growing up, I just learned to accept differences, and I just grew up with kids with special needs as my best friends. Mm-hmm. And he actually went to high school with me as well, but we were still friends in high school, and I think for both of us being at Hope School and learning that to put aside differences and just focus on the friendship, he actually now hangs out with all of my friends, and me with his, so it's a typical and special needs kids together just hanging out now in high school.
Yeah, you know, what I'm hearing is that it sets all of you up for success. Clearly, all of you have excelled in this environment, and I think when, you know, personally, I think when we have true inclusion, such as what you guys have had the benefit of, that we create a society in which we're setting up an expectation of everyone being included. If we're segregating people in their educational years and their formative years, what is our expectation when people get to college? What is our expectation when they're out in the real world? I look at all of you and I think these are the kinds of people that I would like to employ. Right? And if education is we're trying to set you up and prepare you for a real world experience. When we get into the real world, there are people of all different abilities.
Right. And I absolutely think that the great thing about Hope Technology School is that it doesn't place people almost like in a hierarchy where it's like, oh, this person is better than this person, who's better than this person, which is something that I personally saw a lot more in my high school. Public system, it's a lot more of like everyone's on the same playing field. It's like a flat line, not so much a bunch of stairs where people get ordered up. And I think that really has helped build my character. And like Carolyn said, that character not only helps obviously with the character traits, but it's also really with academics as well in the public school system.
Yes. Well, I think that you guys are remarkable. I'd like to not only clone the school, I'd like to clone all of you. Because the world needs more individuals such as yourself. And Gail, I just really have to commend you because you're really paving a path for all of us to learn and see what is possible. You guys are the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your interest in our school and promoting inclusion.
And tell us the website that people can go to one more time, Gail.
www.hopetech.org.
Okay, wonderful. If you guys ever have something, I know you're a very creative school and a very technical school. If you ever have something that if you've got any video projects that you guys have done that you would like for us to be showing here on the show, we would be thrilled to debut them on the show.
Great. Well, I think that students will be very excited to hear that.
Well, we would really enjoy that. I thank you all for all of your work and all of your time and for giving us all this inspiration.
And we have some students that would like to say goodbye.
I want to see them. This is a 5th grade class at your school, correct?
Yeah, fifth and other. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Back to the learning. Yep. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What an inspiration. What an amazing place. Hope Tech in Palo Alto, California. True inclusion and the benefits of it. Absolutely inspirational. I have goosies, as J-Lo would say. We're going to take a break and be back with more Autism Live after these messages. Mid-swing on this wonderful day, this wonderful walk with Mr. Matt Asner. Talk to us about today's walk. Do we have any facts, figures, numbers, or just pure emotion?
Just pure emotion. I'm about to get the numbers. We'll see what it is. Okay. I think it's probably close to 1.6, probably. That's my feeling. But it's incredible. We had 55,000 people plus here today, and you know, I honestly, I've been here 7 years. It gets better and better and better. So.
And really what you fostered here today is hope. I know that's your favorite 4-letter word.
Where are we without hope?
Where are we?
Really, I mean, seriously, where are we without hope? Hope is everything. Hope is eternal.
This is a pretty big event. Every year I love it. What does this event mean to you?
Well, I just think it's great that you see so many people coming out to support, autism.
So we're here with Max Burkholder. There's a whole community of people that are going to love you no matter what you do, no matter where you go, no matter what you do. And that's the autism community. Are you okay with this? Is this a good thing?
I'm pretty okay with it. This seems to be a pretty happy, supportive community.
Well, what did you learn about autism through portraying this wonderful character?
Sort of the individuality of it. You know, like with autism spectrum disorders, a tendency is to sort of generalize everybody with sort of the same degree of affliction as sort of exactly the same, and very generalize them a lot. But something I found while just talking to everybody, and that I tried to put into the characters, just the sense of individuality that all of them have, everybody has. And so at a certain point it became not really even portraying autism, it just sort of became portraying the character.
I want to thank you on behalf of everybody for what you do.
That's very sweet.
To bring awareness and to raise money. That's a tremendous, tremendous legacy. But as a dad, you've got other things that you're doing as well.
Yeah.
I want to know, as a family, if you have any advice, what's been something that's been helpful to you personally?
You know, get your autistic kids out in the community. I mean, my son's got a guide dog, so he goes to a lot of cool places. He surfs, he skis, does gymnastics. He's actually trying Hebrew school. I'm not quite sure if he knows what's happening there, but he does all kinds of cool things, and he has a lot of friends. Right now, most of his friends are the adults who take care of him, and over time, hopefully he'll have more friends who are his age, and you'll see him walking around and people won't be nervous around him. The dog's been very helpful with that. It's like the dog is like the most infectious thing in the world. Like everybody wants to be near the dog, and he sees that and he gets some of that affection laid onto him. So as a family, you know, we're just there to support Tyler and make him happy.
Skills is an online program that provides assessment, curriculum, positive behavior support planning for challenging behavior, and progress tracking, and it does this all in one place. The Skills Assessment and Curriculum addresses 8 areas of development, which even includes advanced higher level areas such as executive functions and cognition, which pretty much makes Skills the only ABA-based set of curricula for teaching more complex skills, things like problem solving, planning, self-management, perspective taking, and even inferring and predicting others' private events. Skills is a 4-step system. Step 1 is to add the child to your account. Step 2 is to start assessment. The Skills Assessment is the only ABA-based assessment with psychometric research demonstrating the language subscale to have excellent reliability. Every area of human functioning and typical child development from infancy to adolescence was researched, making the Skills Assessment the most comprehensive of its kind in the world, and we're quite proud of that.
Skills is easy to use. Simply click Start Assessment and begin answering questions. Or simply type in a keyword, find specific activities to assess, and add activities to treatment. Step 3. Choose activities. Once you've completed the assessment, Skills selects from a pool of 4,000 activities categorized by age, level, and skill type to provide you with exactly those activities each child needs. Start by choosing a curriculum, then a lesson, and finally an activity. Click the information icon to view prerequisites, ages in which targets develop, examples, and IEP goals. Click the video icon to watch a short video. Once you've identified an activity you want to teach, adding activities to treatment is a snap. Step 4. Start treatment. Here you can access customizable activity lesson details, add your own customized targets and exemplars, and edit an activity status such as introducing or mastering it. You can even print handouts such as worksheets, tracking forms, visual aids, and other materials. Skills also offers multiple progress charts mapping curriculum progress, lesson progress, and cumulative number of activities and targets mastered over time. The Skills language curriculum is categorized by verbal behavior type so that users can identify progress for verbal operants, such as echoics, mans, tax, and interverbals.
Skills is one of the only programs that provides the ability to write behavior intervention plans, or BIPs, for challenging behavior.
With just a few clicks, the outline of the behavior intervention plan is written for you and ready to be printed and implemented.
You can learn more about Skills today and get started by visiting us at www.skillsforautism.com, or you can call us at 877-975-4559. Skills. Progress starts here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Oh, I just so enjoyed that interview. I wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about our preparing for teens. And we asked you guys, how are you preparing for the teen years? The show who wrote in and said, my son will be 18 on Tuesday, so we no longer need to prep. We graduated in a sense, LOL. My suggestion, though, at least for the boys, as that's the only ASD group I'm experienced in living with, is to accept that masturbation will happen. And I think that is and she goes on to say, it's part of growing up, and it will indeed happen whether you like it or not. One of our son's teacher gave him a lecture early on and shared it with us, and we continued on in teaching. If you feel the need to touch yourself, you can do it in your bedroom with the doors closed or in the bathroom. Nowhere else is acceptable. When you are done, you need to wash your hands. Nothing else is said and no other response, good or bad, is given. It's not a comfortable subject for many, but my son will look right at us and say, more upstairs, listen to music. And we know that he needs what he needs, and the door softly or loudly, depending on his sensory needs at the time, will be closed. This is at least the one thing that there is no struggles with, no meltdowns because of, no inappropriate worries, one thing that we've taken off the table as a problem so that we can concentrate on the 5,698 issues of daily life. And I really appreciate hearing this, and I really appreciate having a discussion openly about this and this advice from a great autism mom. I do think that people have different opinions and different expectations. I will tell you that I completely agree that it's really hard. If we look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we look at what the things are that people have to have in order to survive, we see that they have to have food, they have to have shelter. And my friends, sex is on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I know that it makes people uncomfortable, that it's not everybody's favorite subject, but it is a basic necessity, and it has been ruled that. It would be impossible, and I think it would be cruel to say to individuals, especially if they have a diminished understanding of things, that you cannot at all. I don't think we would be successful. I don't think that it would work out. So I love the idea of here's what we say, here are the social rules that we put around it. This is where you have to go to do that. This is the expectation afterwards, that you are washing your hands. I would imagine that there are some other cleanup issues that also that could be discussed, but that we don't put it in the context of anything. That we don't label it and say that it's good, it's bad, that we don't put that on them. I think that's superlative advice, and I want to thank you for writing that in. We had another person who wrote into our question of the day and said, I need help to prepare from teen to adult. And so we will get on that phase of it too. I wanted to deal with the teen years, but then we will be dealing with the adult transition as well. Another person wrote in and said, how do we prepare? I have yet to find help. The older she gets, the less opportunity. Our world shrinks down to the kitchen table and homeschooling. That's our teen world. And, you know, this is one of the things that why I wanted to talk with Dr. Nadowski, is that I think for so many of you, when I think about teens on the autism spectrum, I will be honest with you that my very next instantaneous thought, I go directly to the parents. And I've had opportunity to meet many of you, but by no means all of you. And I know that all of your circumstances are different. But what I see when we are at an event like Stephanie's Day is coming up, and when I see parents walk up, I can recognize the parents of teens, because a lot of times you guys are just worn out. And I think especially at this moment in time, the teenagers, the parents of the teenagers, you guys got the worst. Let's be honest. Let's call it what it is. Our current teenagers had the least amount of services. When you were kids, the services weren't there. And right as you became teenagers, all the little ones, not all of them, but a lot of little ones got access to a lot of different things. And your families have been the great forgotten families. And now that your kids are about to be adults, everybody's talking about, oh, let's get services for teens, right? I want you to know that I've been meeting with more and more people who are concerned with our teens and our adults. And I always go back to the story that I talk about, the dream that I had right as we were starting this show, where I won't go through the whole big dream, but it was this thing where in my dream, I saw this woman in a car that was full of children, and her car flipped and overturned, and she had this big jacket, and she had all the babies in her jacket. And as she was rolling, there were people in the parking garage that the dream was taking place. And people would put their arms around the woman and try to slow her down, but they couldn't. And so they would just take a baby, and the woman would keep rolling, and the next person would roll and get a baby. And I was the person that got to her at the very end when it was just her. And of course, I then realized eventually that it was me in the dream, me, grabbing me and holding on. And the me that was rolling with the babies was saying, I was so afraid, I felt so alone. And the me that was hugging her said, do you have any idea how many people's arms you were in? And I remember waking from the dream and thinking, oh my gosh, I have not known in this process how many people's arms I have been in. And it was a huge metaphor for me about the fact that even when you feel the most alone with autism, that there are brilliant minds who, I know you think that nobody's thinking about you, but trust me when I tell you, they are thinking about you. I have the great privilege at this point in my life, in this position hosting this show, that I get to be at meetings where people talk about what they are trying to do for you. And they are, you know, I can't even tell you how often I'm in a conference room now and somebody says, listen, I'm thinking about that mom in upstate New York who has access to this but doesn't have access to this. How can we help her? And I'm thinking about that mom who's in Kansas and, you know, doesn't have access to any of this, and how are we going to help her? And I'm thinking about that dad who's in Seattle. They are thinking about you. And when you speak up, can I just tell you that it helps them to be specific about who that they're thinking about and to know more about the different circumstances, because we know you guys all have it different. But I do want you to know people are talking about and bringing services and creating things for teens and for adults. A couple of weeks ago, we spent a lot of time having guests for the event Temple Grandin and Friends, and Kelby can tell you that that day and that night we did a lot of interviews for a mini documentary that we're making about the behind the scenes of that whole event. And the whole purpose of that event was to raise funds and awareness for Autism Works Now, a really important organization that is helping teens to get prepared for employment and to get our 18-year-old and up adults into employment. That's the whole purpose of Autism Works Now. So, and to be around that group of people, we were there for, how long were we there, Kelby? 12 hours? And to be talking to all of these different parents and individuals and organizations, it was really a meeting in Los Angeles and from people from further than Los Angeles too, of the who's who of autism, and to hear everybody talking about, well, we're instituting this program, and we've got this program in the works, and we're gonna do this, and seeing everybody come together. Because this is the current biggest issue that we have. We've gotten the insurance in place, but now we need to get the help for those teenagers and those adults. So I want to say to you, first of all, you are not alone. You are not alone. Grab a hand. Grab two of them, because you are not alone. Si se puede. We can do this, right? And you have not been forgotten. I know that you feel that you have, but you have not. We are walking in your footsteps, those of us who have come behind you, and we have not forgotten that you did not get your fair share. And I think there's a place for everybody at this table, and that we will get to the promised land. We are moving every day to be able to get there. So do not give up. I would start by saying to you that let's broaden your world just a little bit and get at least one other person for your daughter. Let's get her a friend. And whether that is an individual who's on the spectrum or somebody who is neurotypical, whatever you think is more appropriate, or at the very least, let's get her some good quality ABA, somebody who can be helping her to get ready to have a friend, so that your world isn't shrunk to your kitchen table. But in the meantime, I just have to say, and I'll end on this, you're doing a really good job. But lean in. Let us all take a little bit of the load for you. All right, we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back and finish out the show and finish out the week. Stick with us.
If you're watching Autism Live, chances are you care about the life of someone, or perhaps many people, living with autism. You spend countless hours trying to make a better life for them. It may not have been easy for you to watch the show today. You know, sometimes you could be juggling so many balls in the air, you feel like a circus performer. I remember recently saying to a friend that as the mother of a son with autism, plus all the other challenges in my life, I feel like I'm carrying a tray full of glasses of water, and that if one of them topples over, the whole thing is going to go crashing down. This empowerment moment is all about you. Now, I'm not a doctor or a therapist, but over the last 9 years in my autism journey, I've learned some things that have helped me shift from being a victim to having hope. See, I've been in that place, down on the kitchen floor, on my knees, praying for answers of what happened to my child. I've been in that place, covered with blood and tears, after one of Wyatt's giant tantrums, where I said, "Where has my fairy tale life gone?" I have a feeling you're a member of that kitchen floor club too. It's been a process, but I've come from that place of being a victim to becoming an advocate for my son Wyatt and for many others as the executive director of ACT Today, or Autism Care and Treatment Today. Let's start with reframing the way you think about yourself and your child. I want you to say after me, "I'm an activist." That's right. I'm an activist, because just by watching this program, you are taking positive steps to make the world a better place for your child or someone else living with autism. You are a positive force of action in the world. I want you to start thinking of your so-called disability as an opportunity, because it's within our challenges that our greatness is revealed. That's where we find our courage and resiliency. And parenting a child with autism is one of the greatest challenges a parent can face. You have the choice to see this as a journey of self-discovery. Some people take expeditions to climb Mount Everest to see what they're made of. You don't have to travel that far, because parenting a child with autism is an expedition of the soul. Until next time, stay strong and keep the faith.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I had to bring my flowers back up because they're so pretty. Aren't they gorgeous? They're congratulating us on our new studio. We have to say thank you again to Carrie Mallory Thompson from Autism Will Not Define My Son. They're beautiful, and they kind of match our background. I don't know how you did that. I don't know how you matched those colors so well, but they're absolutely gorgeous, and we thank you so much. A couple of things that I wanted to mention. First of all, that today's the last show of the week, and then we will be back on Tuesday. I know the last couple of Tuesdays we've been off, but we will be back on Tuesday and have some wonderful guests lined up. And we will be here Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week. And then there is a brief hiatus for us to finish out the studio and to give Kelby a little bit of time off, because Kelby has worked for it and deserves it. So Kelby, and actually that's not entirely true, because in the following week we're doing a show on the Thursday, but then we're taking a week off. So stay tuned. We'll put out a thing to let you know exactly what's happening. And then I think we're back the rest of the summer. So don't think that we're off for the summer. That's not what's happening. We're here. We're on the job. As you know, autism does not take the summer off, so we do not do that either. But a couple of things, I've been doing a lot of work at home while we've been finishing up the studio, and a couple of things. It's amazing how prevalent autism is on television. We were watching Jeopardy the other day. It was on while I was in the room, and there was a question that appeared. It was an answer appeared, and it said, "This this appears in childhood and has increased by more than 30% in recent years and is tied to diabetes." And the person rang in and said, "What is autism?" And I was like, "What?" Because it was clear to me, and they said, "No," Alex said, "No, that question is wrong." And somebody else rang in and said, "What is childhood obesity?" And he said, "Yes, that's the correct answer." And I even stopped and I said, "I got to go back and look at that question again and figure out why he said autism." And as I looked at it, I was like, he rang in early because he saw this childhood disorder has increased by more than 30% in recent years. And I thought, and he just didn't look at the fact that it said and is tied to diabetes. And then I thought, but to be honest, while it isn't technically tied to diabetes, there is a great deal of comorbidity that the comorbidity of autism and diabetes is higher than any of us would like for it to be. So I was kind of filtering that through my head. And I was like, oh, that's why he said childhood obesity. I got a little bit further into the game, and Alex Trebek, I've only seen this a couple of times in watching Jeopardy. Alex Trebek said, excuse me, we're going to pause and interrupt because I'm being told by the judges that they have reconsidered and that they have determined that autism could have been another answer for that question. So we're going to award you the money for that. And ultimately, that guy ended up winning in part because of that. So it was funny that as I was going through and going, oh, well, technically, no, I can see why. And then the judges were going through the same thing going, technically this also could apply. So 2 takeaways from that. Very interesting to me. We talk all the time about the increase of autism in recent years, and we talk about the importance of health and of diet. It is important to note that a lot of our kids have childhood obesity, and childhood obesity contributes to diabetes. So I thought I would take just a moment here at the end of the show to say what a wonderful time of year to get all of our kids out and have them participating in more physical activity. I must say that at my son's school, they have been having them run because they've got a field day coming up. They've been having them run every day. And I have seen the difference in my son of how he feels about himself. And he's gotten very tall, so it's like somebody just, it's like one of those Stretch Armstrong dolls. That he just thinned out and stretched him, but it has helped him to be a little bit more focused. It's helped him to be a little bit more centered and even. So I want to encourage all of us that we should all be getting out in the sunshine, getting some exercise, and that we should not exclude our kids on the autism spectrum from that. That will help with childhood obesity. That will help with that comorbidity with diabetes, because let's be honest, we don't need to have one more thing to have to deal with, right? So I want to encourage you guys to get active this weekend and get active this summer. We're totally out of time, but we will see you on Tuesday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.